Las Vegas is amazing, and we believe in the power of community. Hi, I'm your host, Slone Tarabella. Join us in our mission to make the city a better place for all. Together, we can create a brighter future for the Valley, which is why we're talking solutions. Hi, thank you so much for joining me today. Today's conversation is all about opportunity, access, and education, especially when it comes to helping students reach their college dreams. Joining me today are Sam Kiki, an accomplished entrepreneur, proud product of the ACS Foundation, and Mr. Clarence Coakley, called Mr. C, as we all know and love, the executive director of academic coaching services for this incredible organization that we're going to talk about today. We'll talk about Sam's inspiring journey, a brand new scholarship, and what teens and their families need to be doing right now and this summer to set themselves up for college success. So let's dive in. So Mr. C, let's start out with just giving our audience an overview of the ACS Foundation and really what you guys do.
Thank you. Really glad to be here today. We've been preparing students for college for the last 30 years here in Las Vegas. And so we started this practice as a means to get our students to go away to great colleges and universities around the country. So we work with students starting with them in high school and sometimes well beyond that through college, through medical school, law school, dental school, engineering professions. We work with students to start, and every great athlete has a coach. Every great musician has a teacher. And we felt that it was necessary to add the academics to students who wanted to go away and do great things in their lives as well, based on their college preparation and college experiences. So we're excited to be a part of Las Vegas. I was a 1981 graduate of Bonanza High School. I went on to study at Northwestern and Harvard, and I came back here to work with schools to help our students pursue their academic goals and dreams as well. Sam Kiki, who's here, was one of my students. And he could tell you a little bit about his history. But we work with students from start to finish. We help them plan their academic journeys through high school and college. We help prepare them. So there's standardized test prep, there's reading prep, that we actually mentor them on projects. We do everything that is necessary to help a student succeed in high school and college and beyond.
Amazing. I mean, Sam, let's kind of go into your personal journey with the organization. So from your background, I mean, how did you even get involved with the ACS Foundation? And really, like, how did that guide you? Because for me, when I joined my scholarship group in college, it changed my life, honestly, completely. So just give us a little background to your road with this foundation.
Yeah, absolutely. So I was a kid who, I was growing up in Nevada, and I was part of I guess like the gifted or accelerated track in school. I was attending public school in Henderson. I went to Harriet Treem Elementary, and then Thurman White Middle School. And as part of Thurman White, so I was placing in Green Valley. One of the extracurriculars I chose was speech and debate. And I got sat next to speech and debate. The way it's one of the few classes when you matriculate as a freshman, you're largely taking classes with other freshmen. Speech and debate was the one class that mixed freshmen through seniors. And so I got sat next to a kid named Alex Anderson. I think at the time was a junior or senior. I can't remember. And Alex was one of the standout debaters. He was a leader on the team, someone that everyone really liked. He spoke super highly of Mr. C. It's funny. Alex took me under his wing as like a mentee of sorts, right? When I was on the debate team. And one of the pieces of advice he gave me was, you need to meet Mr. C like right away. And so at that time, Green Valley had an unbelievable international baccalaureate program. We had a really strong track record of sending kids to Ivy League schools and top liberal arts colleges. And surprise, surprise, a good portion of those students worked with Mr. C, right? So I'm big on keeping things really simple and studying trends and overwhelming. When the stats all point in one direction, it's probably just follow the trend. And so I met Mr. C the short, kind of, I think, spring semester of my freshman year. And then I started working with him the summer after my freshman year. And then I never turned back. So I worked with him from summer after my freshman year. I'm 35 years old, and I still kind of work with Mr. C in a lot of capacities.
That kind of leads me to my next thought, right? Of you were working with him since freshman year. Honestly, I feel like a lot of people, they do not really think about preparing for college until senior year, right? So Mr. C, why is kind of not waiting until the last minute? I mean, why is really starting as soon as possible so important when preparing for a university?
I Thank you so much for that question. It's so important that our local students understand, especially the students we're trying to attract who are often under-resourced and um, underprivileged and sometimes just don't understand this process. Their parents, if they were not college going and a student's the first generation in their family to attend college, they don't understand that the preparation begins freshman year and sometimes in eighth grade for the top schools. Just recently, I've been meeting with students all over the Valley, and they show me their transcript and they say, oh, I want to be a doctor. I want to be a lawyer. I want to be an engineer. And I'm looking and say, well, you're already behind. You didn't take the courses you needed to, and you are going to be facing an uphill battle. We can help you, but you're going to need to do extra work to get where you need to be. And we find that students just often don't take the right courses. They don't receive the advising they need to get where they want to go. And, for example, there's different coursework you need to do to be prepared for nursing versus engineering versus becoming a researcher versus going into law. There are different courses you should take. There are different experiences you should pursue, activities that you may want to follow during high school. Waiting until senior year, I look at students and they're applying for scholarships and they go, oh, I want to go to med school. And I was like, wow, you didn't even take chemistry. And why would that be? Well, no one told me I had to. That's some of the problems that we see, the inconsistencies with students who are under-resourced. So we want to fill that gap in. We want to make sure that under-resourced students get the same advising that other families can often receive or often pursue.
Just to piggyback on what Mr. C said, I think one of the most dangerous things in life is not knowing what you don't know. The problem that we're hoping to solve, that I'm certainly very passionate about solving here, is just helping build an awareness and education around the opportunities that exist for some of these students and how early they need to start aligning their curriculums and their extracurriculars in a way that prepares them the most for what it is that they hope to accomplish, right? And that's going to change a lot. And I think one of the things Mr. C is very, very good at doing is building a profile of a student, skills across critical thinking, reading and writing, mathematics, in a way that keeps your options open, right? And I think that was the thing. When I was in 8th and ninth grade, I thought I wanted to be a lawyer. And so I came into Mr. C's class and I was telling him, I want to be a lawyer. And then he's like, well, okay. He's like, that's great, but let's keep your options. I was very all in on speech and debate, right? But he was like, keep doing Science Olympiad, keep doing National Honor Society, right? You never know. Keep, obviously you still need to do Calc BC, right? So these are things that if not knowing better, I would have ditched these things way earlier, right? But having a mentor, someone who's seen that track and seen that story a million times before, it's good to have that guidance, right? And it's particularly important when you're in a household where your parents didn't attend college or where you're one of the first in your family to attend college. It's a dirty word, low income. Like I felt that I grew up pretty middle class, but by college matriculation standards, I was low income, right? And so we didn't have any resources to know and learn about these things. And so it was important to have a team, and it's not just Mr. C. Mr. C builds a community of really smart kids, really capable people around him. And so I think it's really cool. You're plugging into a community of like-minded individuals, all highly capable, that go on to do really great things in life. And it's an important network to be a part of, especially when you're in high school and, there's a lot of other bad influences, lurking around. So it's good to be plugged into a community of people who, are aligned with your life goals.
Very true. I mean, especially, from my own personal perspective, when I went to college, like my parents did not go to college. My mom went to school until the 5th grade. So right. It was, I literally had nothing until I actually kind of sought out those resources that my school, I was in IB. So, it provided me that kind of I would say foundation to kind of tackle the challenges that you do get in later in life in your professional life. So, I mean, Sam, this is kind of like a little deep question, but what are some of the biggest challenges you faced in college or your professional journey that was kind of ameliorated because of the academic training that Mr. C and the whole team provided?
I came into Mr. C's class very starry-eyed. I don't think I ever lacked any ambition or energy and excitement about wanting to be somewhere important in life. I think what I was lacking was an awareness of my deficiencies, the skills that I needed to develop a lot more to bridge kind of where I wanted to be from where I was at that point in time. I think my most critical needs were reading and writing, which was unsurprising. My dad emigrated from Syria, right? So English was his second language. So I wasn't in a household where we were standing around the dinner table, like talking about this week in The Economist and things like that. I was strong in math and that kind of stuff, but I needed to do a lot of work in writing and reading and critical thinking. And so we worked a lot on developing those skills. When you're coming from a public educational system in Nevada, and this is just the reality situation, and you go to a school like Amherst College, you're up against kids that were going to high school at Phillips Exeter and Andover and Trinity in New York. And that's not just a name. Those schools have very heavy duty curriculums and academic rigor and standard that's much higher than what you experience as part of the Green Valley IB program and things like that. Now, luckily for me, we did a lot of work on reading and writing and doing so at a college level in Mr. C's class. So I got exposure to that early, and I went on at Amherst to win writing awards and stuff, which I'm telling you, without Mr. C's class, it's never ever going to happen, right? So it was cool that I was able to compete in those fields. And it's funny because, one of the things, like, what did we work on in Mr. C? The evidence, the proof's in the pudding, right? What did we work on in Mr. C's class? I worked on my writing a lot, right? A lot. And what did I do at Amherst? Like, what were my strongest departments? Oh, I almost 4.0'd English. I won multiple writing awards. It's no surprise that carried over into my college. What did I have a hard time with at Amherst? The science classes, right? I didn't take special chemistry in Mr. C's class or extra level physics. Now, the kids at Exeter and Andover and stuff, they do get exposure to very high level, curriculums there in those departments. So if there's one thing, I will say is it'd be great to find ways to obviously strengthen across all of those departments. But the things that we focused on in Mr. C's class ended up being some of my strongest suits at Amherst and then in my professional career. I think part of getting to an executive position, there's a lot of people who are very talented with technical fundamentals, right? With financial modeling, with analyzing a company's balance sheet, with building product, right? But what is, like, when you do these things at an executive level, it's communication, it's writing, it's, it's actually, and there's a great deal of emotional maturity that goes into it. And so C does a good job of like cultivating a lot of those skills in his students. And manual labor was part of the gig too. It wasn't just reading Socrates and story of philosophy and all that stuff. It was, replacing light bulbs in the office, doing push-up when I screwed up. And, so there was that military discipline and stuff that, kept us well-rounded.
I'll never forget this. When I was in high school, my cousin from Korea came and visited us and saw my homework and said, we were doing this in the 7th grade. I will never forget that. And that kind of opened my eyes to honestly, in college, I was really humbled. I struggled here and there, but it's that training and the mentorship and the coaching, you can handle those battles. So obviously you are giving back in a really big way. So can you tell us a little bit about the Sam Kiki College Access Scholarship and really how did you even create that? How do you create a scholarship?
Sam was so adamant that he wanted to participate with our foundation on doing some things to give back to the kids after we worked with him. Our program usually runs 2 or 3 years. And at the time, like I said, I didn't want to charge Sam's family. I wanted to make sure that he had access to our program, regardless of the ability to pay. That's our fundamental. So we do believe in recruiting students from low and middle income families from a range of backgrounds. We want to make sure that kids have the resources they need. And so the Access Scholarships, and what we're doing is we are going to provide scholarships for students prior to college, so that they can work on activities and their enrichment. So supporting them regardless of what they want to do. So if they want to attend a conference, an academic conference, or they won an award and need funding for a trip to do that and to enjoy experiences, we want to make sure there's no financial barrier to that. That's what the access piece will be. We are going to be awarding scholarships to local juniors starting next year, so that they can start doing some things the summer after their junior year before they get into their college admissions process. So we want to make sure that every student has the resources. And it's also a way for us to attract them to our program to help them with their college applications and essays if they're applying to selective schools. For the younger students, again, we do have programs in physics and chemistry, but Sam wasn't interested in those in high school as much as he was in debate. And so for the science kids, we do help them with some of the competitions that they want to do. Of course, robotics and engineering competitions are frequently pursued by our students and activities. So the college access scholarships are going to be a way for us to make sure that we fund students in high school and then continue that funding through them in college. I think Sam could speak to some of his experiences in college, where you want to make sure that after you get good scholarships and financial aid, you still have access to resources as well in college. And so we've talked about in some of our other social media interviews about, getting that first suit and tie, getting ready for that first job interview, doing all the things that are necessary. So the college access scholarships are going to be a range of scholarships starting in high school through college, all the way up until they're ready to start their careers.
The scholarship idea was all Mr. C, right? So I just want to make this really clear. I came to Mr. C and said, anything I can do to help. Like I was very adamant about giving back and at a multiple of what he did for me. And if that's even possible, right? Giving back to this program and making it possible for other kids to live the dream that I've lived. I came from a very modest background, was able to attend one of the top schools in the US on a full scholarship, and then was able to work at some of the best companies all over the world. And it all started, and so funny that the really delicate butterfly effect of life, right? But it all started with some of those decisions I made, when I was 12, 13 years old, right? I want as many kids to make those decisions or have those options available to them as possible. So I'd like to say Mr. C and I co-engineered this, but I think he really is the mastermind and architect behind a lot of this. And I'm along for the ride. I mean, he doesn't need a lot of input from me because, he's a big part of what made me, right? So, I give advice here and there. I've put full support behind his program. If there's anything I can do financially or just, more hands-on, like coming in to speak to the kids or giving professional development or any of that stuff, I'm here for it. But I really want to build a program and legacy around what Mr. C has started to build in the state, right? And it's phenomenal. This is something that, if done right, will outlive both Mr. C and myself, right? And I really want to make sure we put the bedrock in place for that.
That's awesome. I can imagine going from student to then scholarship sponsor. I mean, that's a really crazy feeling, I can imagine.
Yeah, dream come true.
Yeah, so congratulations on that. Mr. C, what should students be doing right now to start preparing? I mean, what do they need to start compiling together? And then how can they even join the foundation? What are the first steps to kind of reach out to the foundation?
Great. You can go to our website, acsfoundationnevada.nv.org, or just Google Mr. C ACS and you'll find us. There is a Google form that students fill in to apply to the program. Every student who comes into the program we accept gets a $1,000 scholarship right off the start. That's our starting point. We want to make sure they understand that we're all about business and making sure they're getting funded. Of course, we're going to pursue more than that in scholarships. What they need to be doing right now is summer reading, period. All of our students are reading a book a week minimum. So that's our first starting point. If you're going to be successful in college, in life, in any profession academically, you must read well. And tests like the SAT and ACT, your AP exams, are all based on good reading skills. So we want to teach students reading. We don't read enough in our schools. We don't need to read enough at home. We're so used to doing things on social media or reading through our phones. We need to read books and continue those. So go to our website, academiccoaching.com, or like I said, the ACS Foundation website, and there's a reading list on there. Click around, you'll find it. So summer reading is important. We also have summer camps going, so we can start with test prep. It's important that students understand that testing is a part of their life. If they want to make sure they succeed in certain professions where they need to obtain licenses and where they have to obtain advanced degrees. So we want them to get on the road to proper test prep, building skills for testing, building skills on us analyzing problems, both math, science, and reading English grammar. Those are things that they need to work on now. Summer is the best time so that you can improve your skills during the school year. But summer, we start in July. During the month of July, we have camps afternoons and evenings so that students, if they're in summer school or if they are working a job, we can get them ready to get started to learn at a much higher level. Our only promise is that we will make students smarter than when they came to us. And so we want to make sure they join us. During the school year, we actually host academic seminars. So we read, certain books philosophers, current events, and we discuss those. Not all students have an opportunity to discuss things freely in their classes anymore. And so in our seminars with small groups, 6 students, we can discuss a lot of topics and ideas to develop their critical thinking, reasoning, and then we write about it. We write essays. So starting right now, reading. It's June. We need students reading. We want to finish at least 10 books before they start school the first week in August or second week in August.
I'm not joking about being an athletic coach. I mean, it's like the brain's a muscle, right? You got to work it out same way. The other thing I would just add is I would just say the tools available to kids these days, particularly, I mean, when I started working with Coakley 20 years ago, a little more than 20 years ago, right? You didn't have these AI tools, and I think they're phenomenal tools if used and leveraged the right way. I think understanding the easiest heuristic is take the hardest classes you can take, right? Like go and challenge yourself and take the hardest classes. You need a signal to universities that you're a kid who likes to be challenged and that you can excel in those challenging courses, right? And I think the second thing is it's important to understand the places you possibly want to be. And I wouldn't say focus on one place, focus on a range of places, a great scenario, medium scenario, safety scenario, right? And say, what are the kinds of things that these places are looking for? Those are good starting places of just take challenging courses and have some awareness and understanding of where you want to be and what those places are looking for. And then, when you have tailored help, like if you're lucky enough to work with Mr. C, then, he will tailor your curriculum and your just your profile and your education and stuff to match and line up really strongly with that over the years he works with you. But if you're not, I would just say there are resources out there that you should actively spend time investing in.
I'm not saying we're in an anti-intellectual movement, but sometimes it feels like it. I mean, how
Definitely.
do we, when authors and really cherished literary works are getting attacked? I mean, to me, how do we shift this mindset of college is not for everyone? And especially in Nevada, where I feel like, to be honest, we do hear a lot of negative things sometimes about where our test scores are. But how do we shift that mindset from college is not for everybody to everyone deserves the opportunity to go?
I will say this very clearly and believe that some people, higher education doesn't always just mean college. And I think that's important. I mean, we definitely need people in skilled trades. We definitely need people who are out there building things for us. I think it's important for us to believe that a great education gives people mobility. And I think that's what we need to kind of stress here. I don't feel that every student should be sitting down and taking calculus, and every student should be sitting down and taking chemistry. I feel firmly that we should develop our intellectual skills, and there are multiple intelligences out there. There are people who design cars, there are people who build cars. I think we need both. And it's important for us to help our students develop their intelligences that they enjoy and that they can succeed and thrive and also contribute to our communities and our collective humanity. And I think that's what our messaging needs to be. So you may not be able to do well on a math test in calculus, but you can do well on other intelligences and other tests that tell us that you can make strong contributions, that you have intelligences. That to me is what's important. So we want to develop our students for that. And if the student chooses, some of the best entrepreneurs out there dropped out of college. A couple of those, dropped out of Harvard and started some big companies that this world now can appreciate, i.e. Microsoft and Meta and Facebook, those type of things. Those are college dropouts who started those things. And so we have to find the right balance. What we have to stress for our students when they're in high school is that you need to develop your intellect. And that means you do need to learn how to read well and learn how to be able to take any piece of information or music or art and enrich it through your ways, through your means. And so that means that you have to develop that intellect in some way. It isn't always going to be the same way as another student, but you can't be passive about that approach. That's what we want to model and mentor with our programs.
Beautiful. Well, thank you two gentlemen for taking the time out of your day to join me today. I know you two are both busy changing the world, so thank you so much. Once again, huge thanks to both Sam Kiki and Mr. C for being here today and sharing their wisdom. If you're a student, parent, grandparent, guardian listening right now, let this be your sign. College prep starts now. Between reading, volunteering, test prep, summer can truly be a life-changing launchpad. For more information about the College Access Scholarships and about the ACS Foundation and how they're helping local students succeed, please visit acsfoundationnv.org. Thank you two for joining me today.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Talking Solutions is a production of Beasley Media Group. For people, stories, or topics that you think we should discuss, please email talkingsolutionsbmg@gmail.com.
When you're high, you feel different. But if you feel different, you drive different. So don't drive high. Brought to you by NHTSA and the Ad Council.